Alright everybody, welcome back to Mamaw's Kitchen, where Mamaw's gonna cook some of our delicious family recipes. Take it away, Mamaw.
All right, family recipe country white bread. I use this foundation dough for basically everything that I make. Rolls, cinnamon rolls, anything that we are going to do with bread. This is my recipe that I use for everything. So grandkids, y'all are going to definitely know this one probably by heart. Most of you have done it with me a lot. So the first part of the recipe, we're going to start with, the recipe calls for 2 packages of yeast. Y'all know Mamaw uses the bulk yeast. I keep it in the freezer so that it stays fresh. So I've just pulled this out. We're going to put this in the bottom of the bowl. I do a tablespoon for each, and it says 2. So it looks like a lot of yeast, but it does great with this recipe. So that's what we're going to go with. I'm not a chef. I don't do it perfect, but I know what my family likes, and this is it. So this is what we're going to do. 2 packages of yeast, 2 cups of warm water, and get your fingers in there. It feels nice and warm. That's what the yeast likes, so we're just going to use that. You don't want it to burn, but you also don't want it to be too cool because it doesn't activate it quite quick enough. So we've got the yeast poured in there, water, and we're going to do a 1/2 cup of sugar. That yeast is just like the grandkids, likes to eat that sugar up, so we're going to put that in there. Got a 1/2 cup. Now we're going to sit there and watch the magic happen. One of my favorite things to do is watch that yeast grow. It takes just a little bit, but it's going to start bubbling up. Grandkids like to sit here and watch me do this because they like to watch for the yeast to grow too. So just be patient and it'll start popping. All right, see the foam starting? This is exactly what we want. Watch it just a little bit now. It's going to start really just popping, kind of like fireworks. We love to watch that grow. While that's happening, we're going to start adding some of the other things that we need to. We're going to crack some eggs. I've got 2 eggs that's going to go in here. We're going to crack them and then whisk them just a little bit so that they mix in a little bit easier with that flour. All right, I'm going to put that away. Dry my fingers off. Just going to break those yolks up. All right. Come back and look at that yeast now. Nice and foamy. Isn't that beautiful? All right, we're going to add some salt. Now, there are a lot of chefs that won't add salt to bread because they say that the salt kills the yeast. But in this, I don't have that experience, and it just adds a lot of flavor to the bread. So a tablespoon of salt, and y'all know Mama likes the pink salt, so that's what we've got in there. 2 eggs, and then we have 1/4 cup of oil. So I'm going to add that in there, and I'm going to set all these extra things aside because we don't need them. Always keep our counter clean. All right, now we're ready for the flour. And this is a simple recipe. Part of the reason why I like it so much. So we're going to do 6 cups of flour. 1, 2, 3. Now remember, some people will scrape it off and pack it down. I don't like to do that. I just shake it. 4, 5, and 6. Okay, now I'm going to leave that lid off of that because I'm going to need some of that in a little bit when I turn it out on the counter. But look at this. How easy is this recipe? This little thing, if you don't have one of these, look for it. It is so nice to make bread and biscuits and anything I need to mix this flour into the liquid, it is wonderful. I think it's a bread whisk. Is that what it's called? Okay. All right, now see how quickly that all mixed in? It's wet. I think you can see from here. See how wet that is? Now that's wetter than what we want. So now we're ready to knead it and add more flour to get it to work the way we want it to. I don't want this to stick to my hands as I'm working with it. So we're going to add more flour on the top. That's about 1/4 cup, because then I'm going to turn it out onto the counter. Okay? I don't really want it to stick to my hands, so we're going to just turn it out. All right. Now we're going to set this to the side because we're going to use this bowl again in just a little bit. All right, here's the other 1/2 cup of flour. All right, we're just going to start folding it and kneading it as we go. And it doesn't take very long, but it's a nice soft dough to work with. One of my favorite things to do is get my hands in here and just start playing with this dough. Don't worry about the mess. It'll clean up. Look at how quickly. See, it's sticking my fingers from before, but the rest of this flour is incorporating in there, and it's starting to just mix in without sticking, which is what we want. We'll keep adding just a little bit more. I want to be able to play with it, but not have it stick to me. It'll rub right off. Look at that. This is like baking therapy. Y'all that have a little bit of stress in your life, get this recipe out and start playing with the dough. It'll make your life a whole lot better. All right, see how it's still sticking to my counter? Number one, I didn't get enough flour on my countertop. But number two, that still means my dough is just a little bit too wet. I'm probably adding another cup to this, but it rained here today, so it's a little bit humid. And you always have to keep in mind what's the weather while you're baking things. So it's a little bit humid, so the dough is a little bit wetter, and so I just have to play with it until it's got the right feel. And the more you do this recipe, the more you'll recognize that feel. All right, can you see what I'm doing? Hands are going in. That's still a little bit stuck to me from before, but you can see as I work with it now, especially with the palm of my hand, it is not pulling and sticking to the palm of my hand. It's just sticking together. So that's it, y'all. That's how beautiful is that dough.
Can you explain to them how you're kneading it?
Okay, so I do the palm of my hand and I push down and then I pull back. Oh, it's still a little wet, isn't it? All right, we're going to do a little bit more here. Palm in, pull back.
And
then I fold back again.
Back
so what would you do? What would you call that?
Yep.
I guess I use the other hand to fold in too. So push forward, pull back, and then fold in half, and then do it again. All right, there you go. I hadn't thought about that before. So, all right. So, but look how soft it is. You see? It's got a little bit of a bounce back to it while I'm working with it. It's nice and soft. This is exactly what I want it to do. So, I'm going to call this done for this part. Now, here's what I need you to know. I'm going to clean this bowl out just a little bit more. And then I'm going to wash my hands, and then we're going to oil this bowl, and we're going to use it to let the dough rise. So just clean it out a little. It doesn't have to be spotless. It's just yeast and flour and stuff in there anyway that we've worked with. So let me wash my hands off and I'll be right back. All right, we're nice and clean. I cleaned off the counter just a little bit too. We always want to clean our workspace off. All right, if you can see in the bottom of this bowl, I've put 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil in there. I'm going to just run it around the edge of the dough or the bowl. I want my dough to rise in here. I don't want it to stick to the bowl. And so I've just got a lot of excess oil in here. So we're going to pick our dough up. Okay. I'm going to set it down in here, press it down with my hand, and then I'm going to flip it over. Now the reason we do this is we want the oil to coat the dough that's on the top so that it's nice and soft and it's able to expand. And so we're going to use that oil and let it keep things soft and let it raise as it heats. We're going to get this saran wrap and press it all around the edges. And then I want to hold in that heat. See, now I didn't make it too tight. Can you see that it's got a little bit of play to it? Now that's because as it rises and it may expand up, I want it to be able to pull this away and keep expanding. But I also want to cover it up with the towel. I want the towel to help hold in that extra heat. So we're going to set this right here. We're going to let it raise 1 hour. Maybe a little longer depending upon the weather, but we want it to double in size. So let's take a break and have you guys come back and we'll finish this up. Right, gonna see what this looks like now. We're gonna pull this out. Oh my word, isn't that beautiful? I love seeing that. All right, so the oil, as you can tell, it's still, you can see a little bit on the top, but it's done its job just letting this bread just rise. So the fun part of this, I don't know, baking bread is fun all the way around for me, but so we're going to punch this down, and all that work is going to go right back down into the bowl. And you can see the oil from the bottom now. It's still in there. This is a really soft, pliable dough, and we're going to work with it. We're going to make bread. I have a little granddaughter. One of the reasons for making the bread is I have a little granddaughter that asked for us to show you the recipe for French toast. So we're going to do French toast the next video, and we're going to make the homemade bread to make the French toast with. So that's what we're doing here. Now, this recipe will make 2 loaves of bread or 24 rolls. And I'm going to show you how to do both today so that you'll have an idea of how to work with it. So I'm going to do a little bit of flour out on our counter. We're going to set this dough down in it. Okay, I'm just going to knead it just a little bit more just to kind of get it in the right shape of what I want here. And then I'm going to use this bench scraper, and I'm just going to cut this in half. This is another one of my favorite tools to use. My son introduced me to one of these a long time ago, and I really enjoy working with it. More secrets from Mamaw. All right, y'all. When you're using oil spray, don't spray it over your floor. That makes your floor slick. So I'm going to do it over the countertop. A lot of times I'll do it over the sink, but today I'm going to do it over the countertop so you can see I'm really going to coat this pan. I don't want that bread to stick to it later. So now a little bit of flour on my fingers and my hands, and I just keep rolling it to the center until it's nice and pretty and smooth. Okay, can you see what that's doing? All right, and that's the shape that I want, and I'm just going to set it right down here in this pan that's been sprayed. We're going to lightly cover that again in a little bit with that saran wrap and that towel, because we're going to hold that heat in and we're going to let it raise one more time. Now I've got this second dough. We're going to do it in this little square pan to make these rolls. That's mostly just so we can enjoy quick, easy bread here in a little bit. But I'm going to divide this dough with this bench scraper just to get it cut up quickly. I'm just going to do 8 rolls, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I can get a little bit more. We'll see. So each roll, again, I'm going to dust my fingers, And then I'm just going to roll that the same way. I want it to be nice and smooth and pretty. See that little air bubble? I really don't want that in there. So I'm going to push it back in. All right. Just make this nice and smooth and pretty to look at, and then set it down in here. All right, we're going to do all of these. Nice little tiny loaves when we're all done, actually, because they're going to be pretty big rolls, but we like that when we're having a sandwich or jelly. Uncle Clinton's favorite thing is bread and jelly. One of these days we'll show you how to make some jelly too. That'll be fun. See, just a nice smooth action just makes it nice and pretty and smooth on top. Ooh, they are big rolls before we even get started with it. Let's see, I'm going to pinch a little bit off of this. We're going to make another one there. So we'll do 9 rolls instead of just the 8. That one's too big. That's the fun of this. You can always reshape them if you want to. See, it's kind of a forgiving dough. Probably the reason I like to work with it so much. All right. I'm going to put these back on the counter. We're going to do the exact same magic that we just did earlier. We're going to cover it with saran wrap, cover it with a towel. We're going to let it raise again for an hour, and then we're going to stick it in that little oven and bake it up. So we'll show you in just a little bit when it's raised. The bread's raising pretty well, but I think my cover is just a little bit too heavy for it, so I'm going to take this extra dish towel off. The rolls are done raising. They're really ready to go in the oven. So we're going to start that oven and go ahead and put them in just a little bit before the bread. I think my rag is just a little bit heavier than I want it to be to let that bread go ahead and rise. So I'm going to give it about 10 more minutes to rise without the dish towel on it. And I'll start that oven and get the rolls going. And so you'll be able to see. Sometimes you just have to let the dough tell you when it's ready and what you want to do with it. So here, slip on in, you can see these rolls. That gives you a little bit better idea. The little dome on it, everything's come together really nicely. It'll raise a little bit more when it bakes in the oven. So I don't want to let them go any longer than they are already. I don't want them to proof so much that they fall. So that's a perfect example of what we want them to look like. So we'll start that oven and start them. But I'm going to give that bread dough just a little bit longer. I'd like a little bit more rise on it. And then we'll stick it in the oven too. All right, these rolls are going to go in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes. When I get them out, I'm going to brush them with butter, and we'll show you on a plate how pretty they look when they're all done. We're still going to wait just a little bit on that bread. I'll stick it in just a minute. All right, look at the difference in just 10 minutes. It's raised quite a bit more. And that's really all I really want, just that little bit of a dome on it. I don't need it to be huge puffed up because it is going to raise a little bit more in the oven. Now, bread is going to be 30 minutes in the oven, not the 20 that the rolls are. So we're going to stick this in right beside those rolls, and then we'll start. When they're done, there'll be a light brown on top, and we'll butter everything, and then we'll show you what the finished product looks like. All right, we're going to pull the hot rolls out. They are a beautiful color, and they're ready to cover. I'm going to rotate the bread. You want to look in here. Our bread is getting started, getting nice and brown, but it still needs to go a little bit longer to be cooked in the center. So I'm going to rotate it. Then I'm going to cover it with some tin foil because I don't want that top to burn. So I'm just going to cover that with tin foil and just let it just hang out there on top. That'll stop it from getting too dark on top, but still allow the center to cook. All right. I'm going to brush the top with butter. Melted this earlier. I'm just going to let this drizzle down on top. Look how pretty they raised. This recipe doesn't take that much effort on my part. Most of the time spent in this is letting it raise, punching it down, letting it raise again, and bake. My energy into this wasn't very much in that 3-hour time period that it's taken to get us to this point, but man, is the effort worth it. So I'm going to let you see one of the rolls. When we pull the bread out, I want you to see it, and then I'll plate a roll and let you see what the inside of the roll looks like, but let's let it cool down a little bit before we open it up. Pull that out. Still warm. Got a lot of steam coming out of it. All right, we're going to break this open. Look at that. It's beautiful. We'll add a little bit of butter. A little butter crock going on. And let's do a little bit of jelly. This is some blueberry jelly we made. One of these days I'll show you how to do this, but this is a nice, soft, beautiful blueberry jelly. There you go. That'll make you want to dig in right there. All right, we're going to turn this oven off. We're going to pull this out. You can see it. That tin foil did its job. It's not burnt. Grab another hot pad. Look at that. All right. Oh, y'all, this is beautiful. I really wish they'd make where we could smell what we're seeing. This smells wonderful. That butter all over the top of it, that'll keep that top nice and soft. All right, that is it. What a thing of beauty. All right, the next thing we're going to do is make French toast out of this. Hope you're ready for the next recipe.